Yes, I have finally moved the 24-inch iMac from my kitchen to this studio, but rest assured I have been putting it to good use over the last few months. And in fact, I've built up a fantastic little setup that is based on some awesome accessories. I love what Apple has done with the new iMac. I know we didn't get the big iMac this year that a lot of people wanted, including me, but I think the 24-inch version is pretty much the perfect size for most people. For me, it's big enough, it's capable enough, and it remains a very important part of this business. But it gets much better when you add a bunch of accessories, and as always, I'll link to everything that I show you today in the description, and yes, I'm aware I need to work on my cable management. If you know me, you know that I love my USB-C docks, and Satechi has always been one of my favourites in that regard. They've made something for the 24-inch iMac that is absolutely brilliant. This is their slim dock, which has been designed specifically for Apple's all-in-one, and in typical Satechi fashion, this is what they're so good at. It slots effortlessly onto the base of the iMac, and it looks like a natural extension of the iMac. It's just genius. And once you've put it in place and connected it via the included USB-C cable, which by the way is the perfect length, I love that, it gives you lots more stuff to play with. So you get a 10 gigabits per second USB-C data port, 2 USB-A ports, we all need USB-A ports at some stage these days, a micro SD card reader and a standard SD card reader. But it does have one other hidden trick up its sleeve. If you turn the slim dock upside down, you'll find this little magnetized compartment. So you don't need any tools to open it, it's just a magnet. But within that compartment, you can house an NVMe SATA SSD, and it supports up to 10 gigabits per second high-speed M2 SSDs, which is a brilliant way to extend the storage on your iMac without paying Apple's extortionate prices. The slim dock is £130, and obviously you've got to then add on the price of an SSD, but if you shop around, you will find a package built around that is much cheaper than adding storage to your iMac via Apple's website, which just costs an absolute fortune. You have to sell one of your limbs, you have to give up your house. It's just not worth doing that to get more storage on your iMac. Just get one of these slim docks instead. Next up, we have the Logitech MX Anywhere 2S wireless mouse. Now, I bought this completely on a whim because I was looking for a small portable mouse that I could use mainly on the iMac, but take with me on the road if I needed to. And this looked absolutely perfect. This is actually the older version, but I got it for just £30 on Amazon rather than spending £90 on the new one. It's technically a travel mouse, but I think it works brilliantly as a desktop mouse if you don't have a huge amount of space like I don't have on this particular desk. And it is about 9,267 times better than Apple's Magic Mouse. It's basically a mini MX Master, which remains my favourite mouse for production duties, and as a result of that, it's got an absolute ton of buttons that you can customise via the simple Logitech software. In fact, the number of buttons it has on this thing is unbelievable given the price. Even the scroll wheel can click left and right, which you can't do, I don't think anyway, on the MX Master. There's just loads of configurability, which is a bit more than I need personally, but for £30, you can't complain. You can also switch between 3 different Bluetooth connections with the little button on the bottom of the mouse. That's really useful from my point of view because I'm using this mouse in the studio, but also taking it out on the road occasionally. There's just one issue, which is that this mouse charges via micro USB. The new one does charge via USB-C, which is great, but it doesn't really matter because the battery lasts for weeks and you can use the mouse while it's charging, which is exactly what you should be able to do. I've got loads of mechanical keyboards in this studio, but there's one that I keep coming back to, and that is the F96 from iQUNIX. It's not the cheapest mechanical keyboard you'll find. The backlit wireless version that I have that has the fancy RGB lights is about $250, but you do get a lot for that money. This is easily the best built mechanical keyboard I have in this studio. It is an absolute tank. Mine has the cherry brown switches. I'm not a mechanical keyboard connoisseur, I just like them, so I don't know all of the differences between all of the different switch types, but all I know is that these ones sound very nice and are just a dream to type on. The bad news? The F96 is slowly being discontinued by iQUNIX. If you're quick, you might be able to get one. They might still have some in stock when this video goes live. But if not, the good news is that the F97, the replacement for this one, is on the way, and that looks awesome. This next one might seem like a bit of an odd shoehorned addition, and that's partly true, but it is, well, it's the iPad mini, and I just couldn't leave it off this list. It's my note-taking device of choice for handwritten stuff thanks to the fantastic paper-like screen protector. If you haven't checked these out yet, guys, have a look at the link in the description. But it's also a vital quick reference tool, so just having the iPad to the right of my iMac makes referencing things and keeping an eye on my Discord server very, very easy. But the accessory that makes all of this possible is the fantastic Benx Infinity Stand. That sits neatly to the right of my iMac, and basically you take your iPad and you attach it magnetically to that stand and you're done. It's there, it's easily accessible, it will not fall off, the magnets are very strong, and it looks great as well. There's an alternative option for this from a company called Pitaka, which I use on my production desk over there. I'll leave a link above to a video I made about that, but I simply cannot have that iMac in the studio without some way of placing my iPad mini right next to it. The speakers in the 24-inch iMac aren't bad. Apple would have you believe that they're some kind of hi-fi-like monsters. They're not, they're just adequate. So if you're someone who appreciates good sound like I do, you might want to beef up your desk a little bit. I've done that with the addition of the Kanto YU2 or U2 desktop speakers and the matching Sub 8. And those satellite speakers are fantastic in their own right actually. They just give you a lot more separation and detail than what you get from the iMac speakers. And they sound pretty full even without that sub, but I couldn't help myself. I just needed a bit more bottom end, and when you put that Sub 8 with those two satellite speakers, it sounds epic. I think they look pretty good as well. They've got that kind of Mac aesthetic going on, bar the slightly ugly blue LED power light, but we'll let them off that. And if you've got a little bit left in your wallet, I would recommend adding the Kanto stands as well. It just gives them a little bit of lift and makes the positioning of those speakers a little bit better. I do love a desk mat, and I've been using the Satechi Eco Leather Deskmate for ages now. It could, admittedly, be a little bit bigger, but it's just big enough to accommodate the F96 keyboard and that tiny Logitech mouse. Desk mats aren't essential at all, but they do add a nice finishing touch to your setup, and they do protect the surface of your desk. I can't really say much more about this one, apart from the fact that it was well priced, it's nice and comfy, and it looks really good, I think, on this desk. Oh, and if you're wondering, the desk in question is a FlexiSpot EQ5. I did make a video about this as part of an earlier studio tour. I'll link to that above, but it's been rock solid in every single way. I highly recommend FlexiSpot desks. I've got about 3 of them now, and they're all brilliant. If you fancy some more accessories, keep watching for a link to a video where I reveal my ultimate iPad mini setup.